We were in business through 9/11, and then certainly 2008, 2009, which was even more catastrophic than what we're seeing, right now. We have never seen a downturn.
Welcome back to Kim Daily TV. My super special guest for us today. He's no stranger to the Kim Daily studio. In fact, I met this gentleman about 1 year ago today when he was my special guest right here. His name is Rick Mayo. Rick, welcome back to Kim Daily TV.
I am honored to be back, Kim. Thank you.
This is what we call a daily double.
Bing, 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 bing.
Exactly. All right, you guys. So I wanted to invite my special friend Rick back to the studio because he is an expert in fitness. Like, he is the guy. So, there's a lot of talk about, are we in a recession? Are we going into a recession? I don't know about the word recession, but I do know the word uncertainty. It is everywhere. It pervades every conversation I have with every candidate here at the end of 2022. So I thought, who better to bring into my studio than a gentleman who's been in the fitness business for 30 years, leading a lot of different programming and just so much expertise and knowledge to talk about an industry I love. I know a lot of you love, but I know a lot of people have a lot of head trash too. Like, oh, we shouldn't be investing in a franchise if we're going into a hard economic time. So Rick Mayo, join the conversation right there and talk in general, please, about fitness in a recession. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
Well, I can only speak to the experience that we've had. So, as you know, Kim, we've been in business 31 years, and before we came to franchising, we'd serviced 2,100 different clubs, worldwide, all different types of brands. And so we were in business through 9/11, which was a bit of a downturn in the economy, and then certainly 2008, 2009, which was even more catastrophic than what we're seeing, right now. And I can only say this. I think it depends on the customer avatar that you're servicing, right? Certain concepts may be more affected than others. And I think it's really just a byproduct of, a little bit of the haves and have-nots. And I know that's sort of a tough discussion for a lot of people, but there is a segment of the population that will be, affected by milk being a bit more expensive or gas being $1 more per gallon. Now, there is a segment of the population that is not. So traditionally, I'll say always, we've always done personal training. So we've always targeted a customer avatar that has means, that's, in this 45 and up crowd, which holds like 70% of the nation's disposable income, even more than that post-COVID. And so we have never seen a downturn. If anything, it has been a boon for us because each time any of our competitors that maybe weren't servicing that avatar would disappear, just clearing the smoke a bit and making it much easier for us to do business in our local market. We've seen that with every other brand that we worked with as well. So I think the answer, as usual, is it depends.
Right. I also think that in these fitness models that cater to, like, I'm going to use myself in personal training. Like, I spend a lot of money on personal training, but it's because fitness isn't a fad in my life. Like, fitness is a part of who I am. Going to the gym is what I do to make myself feel good, look good, be healthy, be strong, enable me to, like, be a single mom, run a business, like live the incredibly busy life that I live and have the energy I have for all of it. I need fitness at the core. So I wonder how much of what you just said too, it's that personal trainer, people who pay for personal training are also like me in that place where they're like either tired of fitness being a fad, and so I'm holding myself accountable by hiring a trainer, or I'm paying a personal trainer because I really want a result in my life, not just to say I go to the gym. How much of that do you think is also true?
Well, 100%. So there's, price and value are not always the same thing, right? I mean, someone that has the means to pay for personal training like yourself, that's financially does well because they work hard and smart and they put all the, the things together. Those individuals, the more that they spend, the more value there is. And it's a interesting psychology to say, hey, the more money that I spend, the more I'll value it. But that is the fact. And so we often talk about there's a certain price threshold that once you crest that price threshold, it's like in the mid 200s, then you'll actually appreciate the service that you're buying even more, certainly than if you're buying like a $10 a month membership, which would be on the other end of the spectrum, right? And so usage is much higher in brands that are more expensive. People appreciate them more. There's just a perceived value that comes along with spending more money, certainly in a personal training service. And you spoke to it perfectly. All the reasons that you mentioned. Look, you want to show up better for your work. You want to show up better for your family, right? You want to have energy for your friends. You want to do all the, the things that you need to do to be successful in your life in all facets. Spending a certain threshold of income or money or revenue, it's going to make you pay attention to the thing that you're participating in. And so what you'll see is at that threshold too, Kim, the usage is much higher. Whereas in maybe a $10 a month membership or something on the other end of the spectrum, you'll have a lot of people paying, but you'll have either non or very low usage. In our model or models that do charge a higher threshold, there's a very high engagement rate. And so I mean, it's common sense, but if you're using the service, you're certainly going to value it more as well, right? I think there's also something to be said for this particular segment of the population, which you fit into perfectly, that if you have all the other things in your life going well to the point where you have some resources to be able to afford personal training, you're typically making other good decisions in your life. And so that particular customer avatar is normally very interested in their health because they're trying to perform at their best, right? They're surrounded by other people that do the same. And it just makes it much easier for them to connect the dots between, spending a certain threshold of money, right, on a service that will help them live their life to the best. I mean, that's it at the end of the day. And so it's a good market to be in during tough times, which you would think, wow, more expensive fitness brand, that's got to be a tough market when the economy, there's a downturn. But when you look at that particular population, they're somewhat insulated again from milk price, dollar a gallon more for gas, whatever those things are. And they understand that there's ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. And this, you can't be in a bull market for 30 years straight. People understand that, right? And so they're somewhat insulated from these downturns because they understand some natural ebbs and flows. And they understand that fitness is important. It makes everything in their life better, and they're willing to spend the money on it. So it's a good population to target, and even more so in a downturn in the economy.
Right. It speaks to the whole thing when people come to me and I say, please just have an open mind, because what Rick is saying is very counterintuitive to what you might naturally assume to be truth. And not that we're just going to take Rick Mayo's word for it. I mean, I would, but you got to make the decision for yourself.
That's
But
right.
no, like during your franchise investigation, the franchisor is guiding the conversation initially to lead you and teach you and educate you, and you'll have one level of understanding and belief. But then we're going to go out and we're going to have an opportunity to validate in the real world with the franchisees already in his system, and they're the ones they don't have a dog in the fight, right? Like, so they're going to be there to just share their real world experience, and that's where typically candidates hear, oh, it really does work. Like, so it's just like when mom says it, no one listens. But when somebody else says it, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been saying the
That's
same thing. And,
exactly
it
right.
falls on deaf ears. So for candidates out there you're interested in fitness and you're passionate about the subject, don't just eliminate the idea of this because all the uncertainty we're in and you might worry we're going into a recession, because what Rick also said, which I have said multiple times in all of the videos I've been putting out here in the fourth quarter of 2022, which really have been centered around this same conversation of business in a recession, is if you plan to become a business owner, you can't control the economy. You have to enter at some point and know that it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to get easier, it's going to get harder. So you just got to get in. If now is your time to begin, And the whole idea in a franchise is that you're not out there trying to figure out, solve the problems all by yourself. You have someone like Rick, if you're in fitness and you're part of Alloy Personal Training, he's been doing this for 30 years. So this is business for yourself, but not by yourself. You don't have to solve the problems all on your own. You don't have to get in the fetal position and go, oh my God, now what do we do? We lost, 25% of our membership last month. There are people to pick up the phone and call who will be there to support you, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, Rick, let's talk a little bit about the Alloy personal training difference. So, we talked about the difference in personal training compared to maybe some other modalities in fitness, if you will, but what makes the Alloy personal training fitness model different from the competition, if you will?
Sure. So I think if you look at just boutique fitness, which is the category that we fit in, there is a plethora of brands that do what we call classes and just like look through the most simplistic lens, 20 people getting sweaty, right? On the other end of the spectrum of boutique fitness is one-on-one training, and that is a bit expensive and it's maybe not a great business model to scale. And we ran that for 10 years, so I'm very familiar with how that works. But we sit sort of right in between, Kim. So we service the same customer avatar that the one-on-one training, brand might go after, but we do it in a more affordable way. So it's more appealing to the consumer that's purchasing it. And it's a better business model for the business owner or the franchisee. And we do it by training 6 clients with one coach. And it was funny, when you and I first met, I can distinctly remember the launch call with FranChoice, and you were like, "Wow, I do this already." And it turns out, I have some relationship, with the person that owns the gym that you go to, and so you picked it up immediately because you were actually a consumer spending a healthy amount of money each month to partake in this exact service. So it's super easy for you to connect the dots. And so I think for anyone listening, if they don't know, that's really what makes us different. We go after an underserved avatar in the fitness space, which is 45 and up. By the way, that's again where all the money is. Perfect time in a down economy, right? And we do it and we service it in a way that makes it more scalable, more fun, more affordable for the consumer, and a much better business model for the franchisee. So that's the biggest difference without getting into too much nuance about exactly what we do.
Yep, and everything Rick said is true. You've heard me say it. If you've watched any other shows on fitness on this channel, I am the client avatar for Alloy Personal Training. I have been paying my trainer for 10 years. And guys, I was a personal trainer, right? So, like, people are like, why do you pay a trainer? Well, because I just want to show up. I want to be on the cutting edge. I want to use my time efficiently and effectively. And you know what else I've come to love is the camaraderie with the
Yes.
other people in my group. Like, I was always a put your headphones on, go to the gym, do your thing. And then my trainer had to scale his business. And so he started, putting us into small groups. And now I hate training alone. Like,
You are like
it's
so
so
many
boring.
customers. When we transitioned from one-on-one training, we were doing 3,000 one-on-one sessions a month. So think about that volume of business and moving everyone into this what we call small group setting, which is up to 6 people. People were very resistant early on, and then some of the holdouts that were the maybe the most resistant, I could distinctly remember maybe a year later them asking like, "Hey, I'm coming at 4 o'clock, right? Who else is in my session?" Because they didn't want to come by themselves because they really valued the relationships, the community. It was more fun. I mean, just all the things that come with being around a group of peers that has similar goals and similar interests as you. So I 100% hear you, Kim. And look, it made it very easy for you and I to have a conversation about what we do because you are a consumer of what we do. But I think for anyone listening, I hope that makes sense on the differentiation and why during a down account economy. I mean, who do you want to attract? It's a rhetorical question, but do you want to go after a 30-something-year-old customer that probably is more affected by the downturns in the economy than someone who's more, established financially, who is going to be able to weather these ups and downs, and going to be able to have the discretionary income to afford an expensive service, right? Like fitness or certainly personal training. And I think everyone would agree that you want to go after the group that has the most resources, that's going to be unaffected or less affected by what's going on in the economy.
I love it. The last point I want to bring up is another, like, I think people think, oh, but there's so much competition in my market. And I'm like, look, in most of these boutique fitness models, you don't need everybody, right? And this is especially true with the Alloy personal training. I don't know if you want to say the actual number, but I'm telling you,
Sure.
it's not a lot of people for you to actually be at a max capacity because this is a small footprint. So do you want to speak to that a little bit, Rick?
Yeah,
Generalities or
100%.
specifics?
100%. So a healthy model for us is 130 members or clients, we should say. So I'm so happy to go into a busy market. Look, some of our locations, our franchisees that opened completely full are two doors down from a class-based boutique concept. Some of the very well-known ones. Some have a class-based concept in their shopping center along with a general service gym. And of course, when we start the real estate process, that's the question. It's like, oh my gosh, am I okay to be two doors down from this sort of boot camp thing or whatever that is? And I'm like, 100%, like I love it because there are people that are in that brand that probably don't love it. It's not perfect for them right now. They are misplaced, if you will, and they just don't have anywhere else to go. Maybe they don't want to do one-on-one training. It's just not compelling. They like the group dynamic, but that type of programming, maybe they have a bad knee or they just want something more specific. So we roll into town, and it is so easy for us, Kim, in a busy market to poach, if you will, 130 clients that want their flavor of fitness, and there's no one else in the market doing what we do. So it makes it very easy, and I would much prefer, honestly, to go into a market where there's lots of other fitness, going on because, hey, I only need 130, and I promise you they're out there, and even if they're exercising somewhere else, they're looking for something different. So it has not been difficult for us, and I think it's great.
I love everything you said, and it's so counterintuitive,
It
again,
is.
to the way that people think, and that's why the Daily Coach has a YouTube channel, everybody, and
That's
that's
right.
why I have friends like Rick Mayo who can share their story and help bust through just those limiting beliefs that we all have. I'm not gonna say you out there listening, because I have them too. Like, the only reason
Yes.
I don't have it is because I talk to this guy on a regular basis, right? And I know the facts. So if this conversation has inspired you and you are interested in fitness, even if we're going into a recession, and you want to learn more about the Alloy personal training model and get to meet this guy, Rick Mayo, then I want you to follow the email on the screen right now or reach directly out to me at inquire@kimdaly.tv. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv. Rick, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your expertise and your passion for this subject with the viewers of Kim Daly TV.
Well, it was my pleasure, Kim. It's always an honor, and it's great to see your beautiful face and to be part of this amazing show. You do a great service for the franchise community, and anyone that's watching this, just know that Kim is the best of the best. And if you're looking for a franchise opportunity, alloy or not, this is the person that you want to contact.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time, my name is Kim Daly, and I want to be your daily coach.